Today I'm doing another video on a fiberglass rod review. I've got five weights between 7.5 feet and 8.5 feet that I'm going to compare. They're either currently in production rods or recently discontinued. So here's what I've got, and I'll just like last time, I will cast all of them and give you my thoughts on how they cast and the overall feel. But let's look at the rods themselves and the quality of the rods. First off, we have the Eagle Claw Feather Light. It's an 8-foot 5 weight, although when I bought it, it was listed as a 5/6 weight, yet the rod itself says 5 weight only. It's a 2-piece rod. It's very inexpensive. It's, I think, about $30. It doesn't come with a case or a bag or anything. It just comes as you see it. Has a nice cork handle, wooden reel seat, and interestingly, it comes with a ruler built on the side, or I guess marked on the side of the rod. So that's kind of a neat aspect. It's a fairly stiff rod for fiberglass, fairly fast rod. It casts pretty well. The one drawback I've found is that it's a butt over tip ferrule, and the ferrules come loose very quickly. Second is the Powell Sweet Pea. It's been recently discontinued. I got this off Sierra Trading. It's a great place for getting discontinued rods. It's a little slower than the Eagle Claw. Also has a wooden reel seat, a nice cork grip. The one thing I found in fishing this is, I'll put this next to the other rods. The stripping guide is, if you look at it here, this is the first guide on the rod, whereas on the Eagle Claw, it's way down here. This stripping guide is equal to the first snake guide on the Eagle Claw. And that's kind of weird when you're fishing it. You notice it immediately. Other than that, it's a good rod. Low budget fiberglass rod. It's pretty blue. Next is the Moonlit Lunar S glass. It's a faster rod compared to the Sweet Pea. It's pretty comparable to the Eagle Claw, maybe a little slower, but it's a nice casting rod. It's a 4-piece, as is the Sweet Pea. It comes with a case, as does the Sweet Pea, and I enjoy that rod. I've fished it quite a few times and nothing but good things to say about it. Next rod is the Fenwick Fenglass. It's a 7.5 foot 5 weight. It's also fairly fast. It's got a cork reel seat, and it comes with a case and bag like all the others. It's a 3-piece, not a 4-piece, so the case is a little longer, and I have enjoyed casting that rod as well. Lastly, we have the Echo River Glass. It's an 8.5 foot 5 weight. It's much slower than the other ones. It's a little longer, so that factors into it as well. I fished this once and actually struggled with it. It seems, for me, I much prefer the faster actions. And this rod gave me some trouble casting it. There's a lot of oscillation in the tip that I found, and that was causing tangles. So you really have to slow down your casting stroke for that rod. But anyways, let's give them a cast, and I'll give you my thoughts. First, I'm casting the Eagle Claw Feather Light. It's a good budget rod, being it's only about $30 brand new. I'm casting a 5 weight Cabela's floating line with the intermediate tip. I use this line a lot for fishing the creeks. Rod casts nicely. I can get a good distance. It's fairly fast action, so I find it easy to cast. Shoots line well. So let's go to the next rod. Okay. Now I've got the 5 weight Sweet Pea. It's also an 8-footer, just like the Eagle Claw. It's a much slower rod. You notice it immediately. Actually seems a little heavier, but I can cast it okay. I don't think I can get quite the distance that I can get with the Eagle Claw, but it's a good rod. I'm not having any major problems. It shoots line like it should. For the price that you can probably get them for, it's a decent rod. You do have to watch out for tailing loops if you have a faster casting stroke, like I do. I just had a nice one there. You'll wreak havoc with your leader and tie lots of knots, just like I did again there. Okay, let's go to the next rod. Okay, now I've got the Moonlit Lunar S-Glass. It's a faster rod than the Powell Sweet Pea. My casting stroke is much more aligned with this rod. I fish this one a bunch. I like it a lot. And I can tell I'm not throwing the tailing loops, because when I'm with the slower rod, I start forcing it for distance and start throwing the tailing loops. This has definitely got a faster blank. And I can cast it further. I could have cast it further there, but running into the trees. So let's go to the next rod. Now I've got the Fenwick Fenglass. It's a 7.5 foot rod versus 8. It's got a fairly fast blank as well for fiberglass. It is slower than the Moonlit by a little bit, but it is faster than the Sweet Pea. It casts fairly nicely. I'm able to get good distance. Line shoots well. I did have a little bit of trouble. The gap for inserting the reel foot is a little small, and I've got an old Fenwick reel, and it's just barely in there, but it's stable. It's not going anywhere, but it does not sit as nicely as you'd like. So if you're using it with an older reel, or you're anticipating using this rod with an older reel, you might run into some problems with it sitting on the reel seat nicely. Overall, it's a good rod. I've got no complaints. It does have one knurled nut for the reel seat, and I was having it come loose a little bit, so that's something to be considered as well. That if you're fishing it, pay attention to that so you don't drop your reel in the stream. Let's go to the next one. Last up is the Echo River Glass. It's an 8.5 foot 5 weight versus 7.5 or 8. It's a decent casting rod. It is slower, so you got to be aware of that and slow down your rod stroke. Like I said, I like a faster rod stroke, and I tend to create tailing loops, forcing the speed on some of these slower glass rods. And this one's just like that with the along with the Sweet Pea. It's a slower rod compared to most of the other ones I've reviewed. It is faster than the Sweet Pea. It does cast nicely. It shoots very well. You just have to watch your rod stroke and slow down, because the rod doesn't tolerate being pushed too hard. It's a little heavier, being 6 inches longer. That's typical with fiberglass. You really notice the increase in weight the longer the rod gets. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed this, and hope it helps you make a decision. Thanks.